We're trying to fix the Ranger. I've been trying to figure out what's wrong with the Ranger for quite some time now. What's been happening is I would fill up the oil, and all of a sudden the next day or quickly after it would leak, or it would be gone, but there was no sign of it being burnt by the engine. So I got looking at the manual, and I got looking at how the oil flows through. What would happen would be that the oil would somehow leak out the bottom of the crankcase through the vent, because this engine doesn't hold the oil in the crankcase. It actually has a tank. Now this is a Ranger 500 2013, and so then what I found out was there's a little one-way valve, and in the manual, in the shop manual, it says that if that one-way valve isn't working correctly, then the oil will actually leak back through the crankcase when the engine is off. And that's exactly what it was doing. And so I pulled out that, and we're going to show you how bad that there was a chunk taken out of the side of that one-way valve.
So here is the one with the chunk missing it. See that? Now we're going to put the new one in and a new spring.
What I did was, instead of taking the motor out, because that one-way valve is way down on the side of the motor underneath the flywheel, this flywheel down here, what I did is I took out the oil filter and some of the air venting, and I'm just kind of working blind under there. I just by feel, and it's way down here, and I don't know if anybody it does actually show it in the manual, and we'll put a picture of that in our video. It shows you where it is, so you can get down there and feel for it. So this is the new one, and this is the spring and the bolt that holds it in place. I know, I bought a new spring. I figured for $4 it needs a new spring. Okay, so I just reach down in here, there's a hole that goes into. And then the spring goes in. Like I said, I have to do this all without being able to see anything. And then that bolt the spring goes in there, and then I turn the got it on there. It's not an easy place to work. I should say that the reason why I had such difficulty figuring out the problem here is because I actually had to rebuild the motor. I had to change the rings and the valve seals, all because it ran out of oil. I didn't catch it, and I ran it dry, and destroyed my rings and my valve seals. So I did all that, and when I got it all back together and running pretty nicely, I think it had this problem where the oil would all of a sudden disappear, and I think I realized that maybe this was the problem all along, and the reason why maybe I had to redo my motor is because I didn't keep an eye on the oil good enough, and this oil would actually, the tank would run out overnight. It would you could fill it up in the nighttime and then wake up in the morning and there's no oil left in the tank. So it was I was wondering whether or not my my valve, or not my valve cover, but my head gasket had a leak in it, or after all that trouble of rebuilding the motor, I was wondering if it's something I did. But I've come across this where it actually said right in the manual that if this one-way valve is leaking, it'll drain oil back into the crankcase. And I'll show you the vent that it was leaking out of. It took me a while to figure out where the leak was. It just didn't seem, it would just drip out of there so slowly that it was very difficult to find out where that leak was. It wasn't just pouring out. Well, I guess it was, but
not fast enough that you could
but
actually...
not fast enough you could actually see it. Yeah. Okay, it's on there. Now I just have to put back all my parts and pieces back together again and fill up the oil. Yeah, why would they put something so stupid, eh?
Camera, say that again?
Fucking garbage.
Nothing quality anymore, eh?
Yeah, that's right. You can't even get a clamp to friggin'. I'm gonna put 2 tie wraps. I'll go get another one.
Clamp doesn't work. We're going to use a tie wrap.
Yeah, there's a little. I think that's a vent for something. Crankcase vent. It's kind of full there. Okay. So I wanted to show just where the oil was leaking out of, just in case it helps anybody to know. There's a wait back here. There's a little vent, a rubber hose there, right? And the oil was leaking back out of there because that plunger wasn't holding the oil back from the tank. And so this only has a small sump in there. It doesn't actually have all the oil like a normal, well, not normal, but like a regular engine, that like a regular motorcycle motor would have the oil right in the crankcase. This holds it in that tank over there and then pumps it through. But that one-way valve stops the oil from coming back into the crankcase when the motor is stopped. And if it's bad, then it just leaks into the crankcase and then leaks out this tube onto the ground.
Right, that tube right there. I don't know if they can see it.
If you're not checking your oil all the time, you drive away with an empty tank and you wreck your rings and you wreck your motor. And
I don't know if you can see that tube right there, right there, on the right hand side of that.
Yeah. If you ask me, it's a terrible design. You never had that problem with like a motor that had oil in it, in the crankcase. Oh, it's still running.